All right, we'll get started here in a couple minutes. I'm just organizing some things, making sure things look right. Should be pretty good. Actually, didn't mean to go on there yet. I meant to go to studio mode and then do that. But we'll get there in a second. We'll get to me on stream here in a second. I'm still organizing a few things. Interesting. Oh, I just found another behavior here that we can play with, so that'll be good too. X Shunny, how's it going? You're tapping out for the night soon, okay? Nice. Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of stuff, X Shunny. I expect maybe to get some stuff working, and then I'll probably get some stuff moved forward a little bit for Werewolf in the lab. But give me 1 second. We're not starting just yet. A couple minutes. All right, I'm back. And Kevin over on the YouTube side, hi, how's it going? We're gonna clean up a few things in the lab, get some stuff a little more organized from the last stuff that we worked on. We worked on some stuff yesterday and most of this weekend, so we'll get some of this stuff cleaned up a little bit. Go ahead and transition this over. All right, so what do I want to work on? I've got more backlog stuff to put into the Kanban board, and we were using this for our lab operations stuff that we were working yesterday. So I was showing you guys a little bit about how downtime might work. We didn't really have the whole change management thing to say exactly what we were doing, so we were just kind of winging it. But with this, we'll have, whatever our work in progress is and what we're trying to do for the weekend. And I think a lot of people probably found yesterday in our maintenance window that you don't have a lot of time in an hour to do a lot of engineering stuff, right? You gotta have your stuff ready. You gotta have your scripts going. So we'll probably make some of this a little more cleaned up and streamlined for next time. Also, let's see if there's any ones that we still have to add. We did all this already, so these things are all done. I don't know why that is. We can move this out back to there. So that was a thing that we did, which was fix the temp FS. Let's see what other things we need to do. We fixed this, but we do need to add some logic, so we might leave that up for a little bit. Write a frequently asked question, that's over here, and the node exporters, that's over there as well. Monitoring, so plan monitoring for the lab. What do we want to track? What metrics do we want to track? What logs do we want to track? And then maybe in there alerting, like, are there things that people can do that are breaking the acceptable use policy once we write that up? And then, like, what would happen to that, and what would we do with that? So, hey Slacker, how's it going? That's a great name, by the way. Yeah, we're just hanging out and working on, cleaning stuff up. I do really like this. I had not seen this before, where when I just hover over things, it'll give me the inside notes. I hadn't seen that before, so that's actually pretty cool. I do actually really like that. And write a frequently asked questions. We do need to write a MOTD basic AUP, right? So what are the basic tenants, spell that wrong all the time, of the system? What do you agree to not do, right? Like, what are you not gonna break if you've been given root in a Linux system? Like, you could break everything, but maybe you don't do that because you want to continue having access, right? By the way, if you reboot our boxes or you do like an rm-rf, I mean, typically, yeah, actually, you know what? That reminds me. Back up the NFS, locations, and let's say back up all NFS on Werewolf for now. All right, let's do that real quick. Actually, I'm going to do that now while we're hanging out here, because I'd like to do that just in case people might accidentally break something, and I don't want somebody to accidentally break something. Let's make sure all the servers are up. That'll be a fun one real quick. Yep, the Rocky boxes are up, Hammer boxes are up, and the Auto boxes are up. Good. So I expected all those nodes to be up, so that's good. Let's go to, so we're on Werewolf. Let's write a quick and dirty little script that just kind of backs that stuff up, because for right now, let's do it like this. They are mounted on the same file system, lab. Right, so they're pretty small. What's in lab work? So that's 11 gigs, and our available on this file system is 123 gigs. So when we back those up with no compression, if we just leave it as just the raw files, it'll be pretty good size. But that's probably not too big of a deal for now. We will want to monitor that space so that space doesn't go too low. I mean, we're only at 37% usage, so that's fine. But let's make just generically CD to here, and let's just, for now, we'll just make a backup location. And then what we might want to do for this is there's two things we could do. We could either copy -R, or what would be most like professional, what most people would do is probably rsync, right? Like, people normally use rsync for syncing things, even on local file systems, even to backup directories or something like that, right? It's fast, extraordinarily versatile copying tool. But the things that people tend to like to do with it is like the archive bits. You set the archive bits, so let's go. Actually, they're using a bunch of them here, right? And when it's archive, it's not going to retransfer anything. It's always going to check. It's just going to make sure nothing's changed. But we can come down here, and we should be able to see the options for it. Yeah. So there's archive with the -A. V for verbose if we want that. Quiet if we want to suppress non-air, whatever kinds of things that we have there. There's all kinds of things that we can do. We can use it to make backups, right? And we can also look at what suffix and backup dir means. But here's a nice thing about using rsync as well. Rsync is, it's a net additive thing. So what do I mean by that? If somebody goes over here and goes to labs, work, right? There it is, lab work, there it is. If somebody goes in here and deletes something, right? It's not going to go and delete it out of the rsync. That's still going to be backed up, right? So what we probably want to do with this then is we can, there's a whole bunch of different options that we can pick for this. Typically, we do want to preserve the ACLs, right? And that also implies -P. So I'm used to seeing like -AP at least. And then I guess if we had anything else special in there, but we're not going to really need any of that. We probably need at least A and P. And we can also have it skip based on checksum, so not if it's been modified. If it's been modified but it hasn't changed, like somebody's doing a touch over the file system and not changing anything, that's still going to skip it as long as the file hasn't actually changed. So that could be a good one. We probably don't need that. We'll probably just do A and P. That'll be fine. So let's try this. So we'll go on this box. Where are we at? We've got the... Yeah. So we've got labs and lab work into backup. So, right? So rsync should be labs. I want the AP over here. Doesn't really matter where you put it, into backup. And if we really want to, we can say labs into backup. Now let's CD into backup real quick, because I actually... Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. And then we'll just go back up one, and we'll do the same thing, but we'll do it with lab work. All right. That's 11 gigs, so it's going to take a little longer. But we'll let that run. And then the once that's done, and once we have that backed up, we want to do this at some interval, right? We want to do this every so often. So the easiest thing to do is probably just going to be to drop that into our cron tab. Oh yeah, look, archive mode does all of those things. We didn't even need P with the lowercase a. That's what it is. Yeah. That's why you normally do A for archive mode, is because it just puts all this other stuff on there so you don't have to do it. All right. Let that go. We'll make sure it's there, and then we'll add it into our cron. So that will be that. And once we get that into cron, we will say backup script. Not even, I mean, it's not even really basic backup script. So create basic backup routine for labs and lab work. Well, we could do opt too, but yeah, we'll be fine without doing opt, I think. Might be good for opt as well. Okay. Oh, that's done. So let's go make this a standard now. I have no idea what my terminal is doing right there. It's wonderful. That's some weird artifacting. You guys see that? That is some weird artifacts. All right. Anyways, cron tab -L, cron tab -E. And then all we got to do is think about how often we want to do it. So we've got one thing in there that's commented out. Super weird. So we got to think about how often we want to do this. So maybe we'll say at the 55th minute of the 23rd hour, every day. So this is minute, right? Hour. Day of the month, month of the year, day of the week, right? So it's everything all the time. That is super fucking weird, man. I've never seen artifacting like that before in a PuTTY terminal. Also, super weird to me that you guys aren't seeing it. It's not showing up on my that is so weird. Like, cuz I'm looking in my in my OBS, what's being presented out. You guys aren't seeing a whole bunch of stuff right here, are you? Like just flashing in my terminal? It's not showing up there. That's weird. I've literally never seen that. Kind of want to take a video of that and like post it on Discord with my phone. Cause that is there's this whole it's like a flashing of like a background terminal coming in front of it, like an old artifact in a video game or something. Hold on, I get a video of that for, because people aren't gonna believe me when I'm like, well, there was something weird happening, and you can't see it. Hold on. You can't see it over there. Alright, I just want a video of that. So maybe not as exciting to you guys as that is to me. That's ridiculous. There's like a pass through on my terminal. And I'm seeing it on every terminal. So super weird. Never seen anything like that. Might have to drop this terminal and come back in. But anyways, let's write this real quick. Yes. Yes. No, get out of there. Cron tab -L doesn't have it, so clear. Reset the terminal. Now I'm curious if it it's still showing up even though I've moved the terminal. It's in the same spot. Super weird. All right, we're closing this in the background. Nope, still there. Is it in this? Don't save. Is it in this? It's going right onto my background of the system. Super weird. Never seen anything like that. All right, well, we're gonna play with that here in a little bit too. But let's put this, I guess, back over the flickering terminal ghost, and I don't know. Let's cron tab -E, shift G, O, 55, 23, every, and then we need to. Oh, it's because I'm not finishing the command. No, that's fine. Because what I want to do is which rsync. I want to see where rsync is. All right, so the command is going to be bin rsync. Got it. And we want bin rsync that, and then we'll do the other one 10 minutes earlier, and it'll be bin rsync labs. You don't need the P with the A. We now know that. Whoops. If I could type. All right. Cron tab -L now has the system getting backed up. Just for fun, we're going to do opt as well. So we'll do shift G, YYP. And we'll change this one to 35. So it'll be 10 minutes earlier. And we'll take opt, because opt is also being sent over there. Home is as well. I guess we could do home as well. We probably could just do this in one line, but that's fine. Let's go with let's go over to opt, and we need to add some stuff in here. We're especially going to make a node exporter. So make dir node exporter, and we're going to go and grab Jumpo 1 doesn't have node exporter on it. Huh. guess maybe this one does. We don't have it there either. Which one of my servers have it? I guess we can find that from Prometheus server. I guess any of the, I thought Hostbox had it. Nope, it's not there. That's weird. I don't know why other servers don't have it. That's really weird because I know that I know for sure that should be Optinode exporter. That's where I put them. So how is this? How does that run a node exporter then? User local bin node exporter. I just put node exporter and it's oh, I guess. I don't remember doing that. I normally always run everything out of opt. I don't know. I mean, I guess. Did I install it through RPM? Oh, this is a different. This is DPKG. This is Ubuntu Bash. I don't have very many of those in my environment. No, doesn't have it. All right. So wait, all these ones have it that same way too? I guess so. I mean, I guess in some ways that makes that a lot easier. Node exporter. Okay. I guess that's where I put it. I guess I could go check the playbook that I deploy it with, because I could just use the playbook to deploy it. However, that doesn't work because they're down in an image, so we can't get away with that here. Let's just put it. Yeah, let's just do it this way. I think this will be the easiest way to do this. So, let's grab Werewolf Etsy host. Does he know about him? He doesn't know about him. So, he's 225. So we'll go. How are we gonna do this? Oh, we already made one for node exporter. All we gotta do is come over here then and say SCP user local bin node exporter with, we're going to have to use the Scott user at 192.168.200.25. We'll have to go put in temp to start, but that's fine. My password over there, something like this. That should move it over. Then here, we'll CP, actually we'll just move from temp node exporter to here. So there's node exporter. And here is the way that it's going to run. Again, that is the weirdest. I know you guys can't see it, but it's like flickering right over this part of my screen. It's like flickering like a terminal. Super weird. All right, let's go to that needs to be dropped into each of the images now, and then started. All right, so we'll come over here, and we'll have to fix the file as well, and then recopy it. So let's do an exec to go to automation first. That's fine. And in here we will vi etc systemd system node exporter, and in this file we will drop that, and the path will be opt node exporter, and then the actual tool will be node exporter. And then we have to add one other thing, which is a line that we know from working the other day. We know that we need it or it's not going to work. Where is that at? Right here. We need it to be after opt mount, or that won't work, because we get into what we call a race condition, right? So escape : WQ, and then now that would be system CTL enable node exporter, and system CTL enable node exporter service does not exist. We might have to do a daemon reload first. Even though that doesn't really work in there. Node. Oh, did I not name it right? Dot. That's my bad. Copy. My bad. There it is. All right. True. Exit. So automation for Rocky is done. Let's go drop this down here just so we have our block. We don't have to remember what's in our. Remember, we need to do that so we've done that for the automation. We need to do that for the hammer and the Rocky nodes. And then also, since we've done it for the automation one, we're going to reboot one automation node to make sure it works. It's always important. You gotta have it work on at least one node before you continue. Also, this thing's going to drive me nuts. What is back there? One of these other things behind it? Nope, nothing's back behind there. Not Discord. Alright. Screw it. We'll keep going. What's everybody else working on? I sometimes I keep looking back over here. It's been 30 minutes. Nobody's talked on Twitch. That's a long time for Twitch to not have somebody say something. I know I look like I'm super focused, but I'm actually really just kind of chilling and fixing the lab up a little bit. The wife is downstairs with her friends doing a book club on Little Women. So, Troniak, hey, yep, you're free to lurk. That's always good. Let's do one thing real quick. Let's go to SSH2 Auto 5 and reboot him. When he comes back up, he should have Node Exporter running on him. That's the goal. While we're waiting on that, though, we will go into the Hammer Linux 9. Is that what he's called? Yeah, that sounds right. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to PI his Etsy system, and then node exporter dot service, right? And in here we're going to drop this file, which has all the things that we need. Yep, has the right path. Yep, and we will then true. Oh, system CTL enable. So that'll make the link, and then we'll say true, exit. So that'll build. We will ping auto 5 until he comes back up, and then we'll go check him to make sure that he's showing his node exporter correctly. Oh, we have to set that in the firewall too. So we'll do that in the firewall as well. While we're doing this, I'll put that in the notes as something that was done. So node exporter config, that's actually a work in progress. I'm working on that. This can't go to done until next week when we have our downtime, because once we have our downtime, then we can cleanly reboot all the servers, make sure they come up clean, make sure they're ready for the next week. Otherwise, it's just during the week, you know, the patching could, we don't work on all the servers during the week, right? We could roll through them and nobody would notice the difference, but if somebody is potentially on them, I don't want to mess with them. Just give you guys full access and that kind of stuff. All right, come on. Enzo, how's it going? I'm kind of working on stuff from last night still. A little bit of a continuation, a little bit of just me cleaning up the lab some more, but I am keeping track of it. So then when people say, well, what's changed in the lab? We have a record of all the things that we've done. And we'll do that. Door! I don't know if they can hear the door, so I have to yell it. I don't have to yell it, but they don't always hear it. All right, it's back up. Auto 5. System CTL status. Node exporter. It says it's down. Oh. It does need a user. Fair enough. It's probably my own fault. Did say user node exporter. Yep. So if we do that, we got to give it a user. All right, fair enough. Let's exit out of here. Let's go back over here. Let's we'll do it all again. In here, we'll say user add node exporter, and just for fun, ls-l opt node. Oh, he's not mounted here, so we wouldn't even be able to see. Let's check real quick. All right, anybody can run it. That's important. And also, can anybody traverse to the directory? Yes. Okay, that's important. Let's come back over here. User add, and that. Good. True. Exit. So it'll rebuild automation. So automation will be done. Hammer will have to add the user in, and then we'll put in our notes that we also had to add. Which I should have, if I had been reading it, I would have caught it right here, that there's a defined user for node exporter, and if he's not there, he's not going to be able to kick it off on a local image. He can't process because he doesn't exist, right? So there you go. Enzo, what'd you say? Doing good? You're working on your AWS workshop? Nice. Did you see one of our guys is talking at one of the AWS events, Enzo? He used to post the things in the Discord. I don't know if he just is too busy now to post them, but one of our guys is speaking at an AWS event in a couple months, or a couple weeks. I'd have to look. It was on LinkedIn, but not everybody posts their stuff up there, so he used to, though, but I don't know. He hasn't been around for a while. So. Yeah, I can send it to you. I'll find it. I'll find it off stream. Let's go user add node exporter. And that'll give us user. The users don't have to be the same between these machines or these images. It literally doesn't matter to that part of the process. Let's make sure. So node exporter just has to exist. And was there anything else we had to do? No, that should be good. Now on the last one, so the Rocky one, we'll have to do the whole thing. We'll have to make sure it's there. We'll have to do all that, and then. But while that's going, we can go to auto 5, reboot, ping auto 5 until he comes back up, and then go from there. So that'll be good for that. Back up the NFS locations. We've done that. That was we did a little thing in cron tab. I kind of want to. We're gonna make that better. We'll make that a script. I didn't script that in any way. I just made that a thing. We'll make that a script, and then it'll just be one line. It'll run the script, and the script will then give us an output as well that the backup has occurred. That'll be useful. We can also store that locally. We can also have that send it up to Loki if we want. So we can actually have that call out to Loki and be like, hey, I'm good, here's the message. And then we can look inside of Loki, which is just an open API for us in our environment, to sit there and see that everything worked in our lab the way that we wanted. That's, this is one of these things. We can do this a bunch of different ways. So Hammer Linux will be done in a second. Then we got to do Rocky. Make sure that that's our. Last one will be Rocky Linux. Right? And we will do user add node exporter. And then we will do vi etc systemd system node exporter dot service. And here we will drop this escape :wq systemctl enable node exporter. That'll make our links for us. That's all it does. We could make the links ourselves, but it'll do it for us, so that's fine. True, exit. Let's come over here. His ping will be up between about 120 and 180. So typically within like 2 to 3 minutes is what it takes to boot in our environment. It's not the fastest environment, but that's still faster than physical. Physical nodes take longer. So. I need to get some water. That pings up. It's auto 5 and systemctl status node exporter. It's up. And then there's two other checks. There's a few other checks, I guess. We could do ss-ntulp grep-i for node. That would show us port 9100 is listening. We could do lsof-i on port 9100, and that would show us node exporters listening. It's got a PID of 887. That's fine. We could track what we could use lsof to also look at the process ID and see what it's looking at, what it's holding open. If it's looking at any files, we can see all kinds of stuff there. For all intents and purposes, that's great, but then can we see that there's a scrapable page? That's simply a curl against 127.0.0.1 ourselves on port 9100 on the path metrics. So if you've never used Node Exporter, this is about to blow up my screen. It's like a hot mess of data. These are all the data that we share via Node Exporter right here. And that's a lot for us, but that's exactly how Prometheus likes it. Prometheus just wants to scrape that stuff all up. So there we go. We've got those things, and that's a good part of it. All right. So that's good. Gonna exit out of there. Over here, these will all be eventually good. Do we want to clean up our backup script? We can do that. We can do that later. That's not a big deal to do that right now. We could write a frequently asked questions for our lab. We do have a lot of frequently asked questions. People, find out that they can use the Prolog lab. It's there for you guys to use, right? It's got a bunch of servers in it. This is where you go find stuff out about it. It's in the Prolog lab environment in our Discord, which I know you guys still can't see it, but like all of this is glitching on my screen right now. All of this, it's wild. Never seen anything like it. I haven't seen anything like that since like Unreal Tournament, like 2005. Like old like artifacting in video games. It almost looks like what's going on right over here, where you see stuff over the top of like the screen because I have the overlay. Actually, you know what? Can I fix that? I think I can fix that overlay. Hold on. Give me a second here. I saw a thing that was like you could take that. I think I can like give it a background color is 000. I could give that like a. I don't know if I want to give it. That might be too dark. No. That turned it off. Hold on. Background color. Can't I just do background color black? Hold on. Oh, that gives us a background color. Give me 1 second here, guys. Default, yes. Boom. Okay. But fuck it. We'll leave it. We'll leave it. Not gonna worry about it. Oh, and then people are mentioning me. Who knows? Who knows what all that is? So our lab's pretty good for what we need right now. Got all that stuff in there. I wonder if there's notes in here. I wonder if I can drop notes in. Attach a comment. Like this is almost like this is what we did. Not a great background. So I manually darkened this, but it doesn't look like there's a very good function to darken notes. All right. How to deploy troubleshoot. I know Colchis was working on that stuff, so I think he already had the first two of those are good. Monitoring. So we did the node exporter stuff. Okay. We have frequently asked questions, which will cover those things. Let's go check the Ansible output sandbox. How did that look this morning? I thought I saw it this morning, but I don't remember. Looked a lot better. So here's Prolog lab check performed at this time. And the reboot, we expected everything to reboot. We rebooted it all. We also expect it to reboot when people do stuff in there. So we do expect people to reboot these lab environment. What we don't expect is things to be unreachable. So that's good. We want that to be empty. Yeah. That's pretty good. Pretty good for now. I don't know how we reset this problem right here. I wonder if that'll go away if I restart the presentation. Nope, it's not going away restarting the presentation. Still there. Only thing I can think of is maybe killing Putty. Let's kill Putty. Still there even with Putty gone. This is like part of my background now for my server. Alright, screw it. Let's try to ignore that even though it's just flashing there. And let's try to clean up this werewolf crap a little bit. So my werewolf presentation is going to kind of look like this. And it's actually funny, if you guys ever play with PowerPoint for presentations, nowadays it's like, hey, you know what, buddy? I'll do everything for you. Let's take this whole presentation and bam it up a notch. And I could be like, watch this. I could do this. It'll actually let me pick one, and then if I put it in like this mode, this is what this will look like. I didn't do any of that crap. All I did was put the words in there. But this thing will it'll really bam it up if you let it. if you want it to do weird stuff on your behalf, it'll do it. So I don't know. I normally leave that stuff for everybody else because my presentations are very vanilla, but let's do it that. Okay, so what do we do around here? And it's funny because depending on who we ask, it's going to be different answers. So let me get rid of this and put this. We're going to duplicate this slide, and this will be, if we're Prolog, we do this. And if we're Redline, which is my company, we do this. Redline, there. Delete that one. Delete that one. Delete that one. All right. So either point above, lots of new stuff is being managed. Okay. So that was, apparently these are all parts of point C. What do we do around here? Both of those things. New. Many new server deployments are utilizing werewolf. So the flow of this is supposed to be, you know, it's a werewolf brown bag, and that's a tool, right? And is that spelled right? Yep. ULF. That's how they spell it. Don't ask me. I didn't make the product, guys, right? I'm just a guy that uses it a lot. What do we do around here? If we're talking the Prolog, then it's teach people about Linux and sometimes use HPC or supercomputers to do it. If it's my company Redline, we build and maintain HPC and supercomputers for customers. Sometimes they're government customers, sometimes they're private customers. That's really irrelevant and won't really change either of those 2 points. But I might want to change these slide formats because the slide formats might make more sense to be what do we do right now? I don't like that format. Hold on, come back. Control Z. What do we do around here? And I might make that. That's fine. And then can we do the same thing here? Although nobody would see both of them, right? Because the presentation's designed to be either one or the other. I will hide the one slide for one presentation, then I will hide the other for the other. And that's not like to hide things, it's just because the presentation's being built differently depending on which group we're working it with. So if we're Prolog, we teach people about Linux and Linux jobs, sometimes using HPC clusters. That's true. We try to show people everything around here about getting into the field and those kind of things. How's it going, Sending? You're welcome to hang out. And actually, give me 1 second here. I'm going to turn off my camera. I'm going to grab some water real quick. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Not going far. over here? Oh no. I got candy. Yeah, sending. I do need to make a little lurk one, don't I? I don't think I have anything cool for lurk. But we're cleaning up my presentation that I'm going to be giving next week or so, next month sometime. All right, hold on. Let me turn my camera back on. All right. Let me. And I apologize if you guys can hear the women yelling downstairs. They're vigorously discussing a book called Little Women. That is what their book club is about tonight, and my wife has decorated the whole downstairs in the theme of Little Women. And you might say, what would you do if you were using Little Women? Like, what would you? It's all the stuff that they ate in the book. It's like flowers. It's very, very detailed, very extravagant. She's really into making the. She likes to have the coolest little book club thing. So, all right. New server deployments are utilizing Werewolf, so that's kind of like our thing. So let's for this one, let me do, and then here maybe for my work one, I'll say list a few customers we've deployed or worked on, right? And obviously, guys, for like certain reasons and politeness and business professionalism and whatever other reasons we have, I can't write those out here. But just suffice it to say, they're government customers and some other stuff like that. Yeah, Chingo. Yeah, they're Little Women doing big things. So maybe for them, I'll do that. And then for us, when I do our talk, how do we build some supercomputers, or alternatively, what are supercomputers? And one of the things that I might put here is this thing that I'm always referencing with you guys, which is right here. We're just going to go grab, like good writers borrow, great writers steal. We're going to just borrow this right here for this talk. Boom. And you got to remember, in my presentation, I only have an hour. In fact, I sat in one today. There was a really good one. One of our engineers, he gave one today on like starting out with Copilot, and he was doing Copilot in GitHub, which was kind of cool. I was not super familiar with that process. I've seen people allude to it, but to have somebody actually walk you through it is pretty cool. By the way, look at all these other recommendations. It's like, hey, we can do it all these other ways, bro. And I can say, see more designs. I can make this thing keep offering me designs, guys. It's actually funny. It'll eventually stop, but I could be like, ooh, I like that one. I don't like that one. And then I can get rid of it. I also don't need my numbering because my numbering's not as relevant in the discussion here. But this thing will try to, it'll try to make me happy. It'll be like, hey, we could just drop this whole thing like this, buddy. Just put that over the top. And I'm like, I don't really like that. And then it's like, well, what if we move it over to the right? And I'm like, I don't really like that. So I can back this out. And I can leave it very similar to how I have it. Or what I might do, because I'm kind of chintzy. I don't really care if my stuff looks super nice. I just care that the information's there. I might move this down. And I might go like this. And I might go, that's good enough. Because when we go to it, I would say, and it's actually funny, it's super funny to me, because, guys, this was drawn in Visio. I'm like 90% sure this was drawn in Visio. And it made it all the way into the government publication, guys. It made it all the way into the publication that they didn't move this to the back. This right here, this line right here, there's a grouping and you set it to the back, right? So it goes behind this, but nobody caught that. And it made it all the way into an official government publication, which amuses guys like me to no end because I'm amused by stupid little errors like that. But anyway, so this is from there. Now, I try to typically, because I'm also a college guy, right? I try to reference things as I go. So I like to tell people where I got things from because I think that's useful. But also, I do try to give all my references at the end as well. But I sometimes, just for fun, will... Really? That's what we got here, computer? All right. And then I'll say, like, ref. and then I'll always go to the end and hit at least enter so that it shows up correctly there. All right, that's fine. That'll be good enough for government work, right? And then what I can do here is, how do we build supercomputers, or alternatively, because so in my company, when we do brown bags, we have about 50 to 60 employees somewhere in there at any given time. I think today, like for this guy's one, there was probably about 20 of us there. It's just people who can get away and do like a lunchtime learning type thing. Not all of them do supercomputing. And you say, wait a minute, Scott, I thought you said Redline was like a supercomputing company. Yeah, but some of the things that we work with and some of the projects are research scientists. So we have a fair amount of like, really? All right, now it's on the floor forever. We have a fair amount of like research scientists and other people working with NOAA and other projects and stuff like that. So they're not all supercomputer guys. They're not all guys doing Linux for big projects and stuff. So I will sit down for a minute and tell them, like I'm telling you guys right now, about a little bit about supercomputers. So first off, everything in there is Linux. It's all Linux. So get that out of the way. Some is Linux, but it's focused on storage. So your storage nodes may have different types of chassis that allow for multiple disk arrays, what we call JBODs, just a bunch of disks. Really depends on the type of storage node. Sometimes they are Lustre based, and then it's a object storage server, and then it's back-ended to direct attached storage, which are called object storage targets. And those object storage targets will have redundancy between OSSs in there. I'm not going to get too much into that with them, but I'm just telling you guys. And then, so storage are back-ended really fast through high-performance networks to the multiple compute nodes. And those multiple compute nodes are, we used to call them slaves, but people don't like that term. So we now call them worker nodes to some type of scheduler. And the schedulers are Slurm and PBS Pro and, oh, there's a whole bunch of them. But Slurm is a very big one. Torque is a big one that people hear. Platform LSF is a big one from IBM. So there's a bunch of these different types of schedulers. And what schedulers do is they allow users that come in on the login nodes. So login nodes, you jump in on a box. Typically, we got a bastion in front of a login node. Sometimes bastions are built into login nodes. There's different ways we do it. But the login node, you don't go from the login node, or you don't like jump into like, let's say you go to a train platform and you don't just go right to the train. You go over and you get your tickets, or you go through a turnstile, or you do whatever you do. And that's what the scheduler kind of represents. People come in on the login nodes and they schedule jobs through the scheduler that can then allocate how much resources they have and all these kind of things based on partitions and job pools. And there's whole, like, we have guys in my team that specialize in that stuff. I don't specialize in that. I can troubleshoot, I can work on it and that kind of stuff, but that's not like what I build and design. Then there's the data transfer nodes. They're typically how you move data in and out. So this would almost be like me and the wife, we go down every year to Mexico with some of our friends, and we do like these resorts. And we wrestle when we're down there. It's kind of funny. But we go down, and when you get to the resort, you give all your stuff to them, and they lock it up in like a little, they've got like a little push cart thing, and they lock it up in there, and then they take it to your room for you. You can actually go right out on the resort and hang out. And then when you're ready back at your room, they'll bring it to you. So you lose control of your stuff. And it's the same thing with your data. If you were going to transfer, fucking man, this is one of these things that like you just have to bite your hand and go, good God, I wish we could train users to do this. Because a user wants to pull all that luggage through the turnstile with them. A user wants to log into the login node and pull their 20 terabytes of data in with them. And we're like, you can't. Go over to the data movers or the data transfer or the data exfil, whatever nodes we call them. We call them all kinds of different things. Data movers is a very common one. And in there, you move your data in and out of the system. Right? Does that kind of make sense? Has anybody here ever lived somewhere where there's a cargo or a freight elevator? See, I live in Arizona, and I've never lived in like a high-rise or anything, but I learned this from working at Lockheed Martin, where we had these deep basements and stuff. And it's like, yeah, Mexico is... I go to Mexico all the time, man. I probably go 2 to 3 times a year still, even from the U.S. and even with like the differences in kind of... But I go down like Cancun area, so I go pretty far down in there. All right. I'm going to give the 5-minute rundown of this. I am not going to go deep into this. By the way, I'm eating Mambas. You guys know what Mambas are? They're little taffy candies. Like a Starburst. Which, if you didn't know, Starburst is a taffy. Alright. So, it's actually funny. So, let's take this definition from NIST. And we'll say this is a description. And then we'll have all these, which are like, and we'll go grab. So the diagram I already showed. We might just, you know what? I might just describe it, and I might not even need any of that. So, I'll just talk to all these pieces right here, and I won't necessarily discuss them as these separate. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it this way. We'll do it that way, and then I'll say, so how does Werewolf work as a cluster manager? And this takes my first picture, my first picture from the other day. So where's, oh no, so I went too high. AI. So this takes my first picture from the other day, which is this guy. So I posted these up in the Discord as I had Gemini making them. What? There we go. So how does Werewolf work as a cluster manager, right? That's the next question. And actually, you know what? I might say, so Werewolf takes over an environment. Because that is what Werewolf does. Yeah. So Werewolf, like, what does Werewolf do, right? This is the question, is why Werewolf, basically. Get rid of those numbers. Those numbers look like crap. So how does it work in an environment? And it's funny. Hold on. Fucking terrible. I'll go with this. So how does Werewolf work as a cluster manager? All right. Werewolf does take over an environment, and this takes my second picture, which is this one. And my favorite thing about this is I did not tell this to do this, guys. It called this Full Moon Builders, which I think is absolutely hilarious. If you were going to be like a company that all you did was deploy Werewolf for people, I think it would be absolutely hilarious if you called yourself Full Moon Builders. But let's make that a picture. Let's see what it wants to do with the picture. Let's use this one. Werewolf takes over an environment, sure. And I like how it kind of does the. Will this one do the? Will this lighten up for me? So as I'm going through the presentation, right, and I'm here and I'm talking about this for a little bit. How do we build supercomputers? And then how does Werewolf work as a cluster manager, as a component, as a subcomponent of that, right? And then I say Werewolf takes over. Because that's what it does, right? It does take over an environment. But I want to make this bigger and maybe fit better. Maybe. But I still want it to do that cool little light thing. Takes over an environment. Because it does. Werewolf has to be in charge of things, guys. It has to do DHCP. It has to kind of control what's going on. Let's see, is that still doing it? Cool. Werewolf takes over an environment. And what does it do? So this is what Werewolf's doing. I kind of... Let's do this for fun. Let's take this and make a smaller set of, because I can sit and talk for a while on a slide, right? Like it's my slideshow, guys. I can go in whatever speed I want. Where the hell's my text box? Yeah, drop text box here and do that. And let's make that bulleted point. Whoops, bulleted points for fun. There we go. So it's gonna do that. What else is it gonna do? Get rid of that one. Delete slide. Because here's the thing, guys. I outlined this and it was 37 slides, right? Now we've already compressed it down. It's only 29. We can shorten this way down, and then I can add I'm going to add my actual work slides to it. In a 1 hour presentation, this is just some pro advice for you. You probably don't want to give a demo. Have you guys ever heard the gods of the demo, or you've angered the gods of the demo, or have any of you ever watched somebody try to demo something? Man, I'll tell you right now, I don't care how many times. I don't care how many times they've practiced that demo. Something breaks in the actual presentation. It doesn't matter. I don't care how many times you've done it. I don't care if it's just like an echo shell in a bash terminal. Something happens like this. I know you guys still can't see it, but there's like the weirdest stuff going right here on my screen. I need to get another video of it like this, so you guys. I'll post it up in the Discord because you guys are gonna think I'm nuts. Full Moon Builders has a basic website. Do they? That's pretty funny, Outcasted Wanderer. They probably do. I don't even think the domain was registered the other day, so hopefully somebody got it. I think I was looking at it. Or maybe I was looking, I don't remember what I was looking at, but we're going to keep pulling these up. These parts of the presentation. All right. While I'm sitting here eating Mambas on screen. I normally don't eat when I'm presenting anything because I think it's super unprofessional. But you get what you pay for with me. And with being online, you're not paying anything, so... There you go. I guess you're paying in some really basic ads. Move this up here. Move this over here. Let's give it all this. And let's make this bigger. One smaller. One little bit bigger. Right there. Werewolf. Also, good gosh, add it to the dictionary so it stops complaining. That's hard to look at. Werewolf does take over an environment. That's what it does. Nice. Looks like Texas. Oh, yeehaw. All right, no, I'm just kidding. Werewolf keeps an inventory of the whole environment. Let's make sure I have all that. Good. And let's delete this slide. And then let's delete this slide. And then images. So it does manages the entire environment. That's true. It does. And... how does it build and configure? Okay. So Werewolf takes over an environment. So Werewolf runs DHCP. It responds to all DHCP. So anybody else in that... So in general, if you back up and just networking and systems building in general, only one... There can be only one. It's like the Highlander. There can only be one DHCP server in any one environment. And Werewolf has to be it. I suppose you could probably get away... No, I'd just say leave it as Werewolf. So let Werewolf do all the DHCP for you. It also keeps an inventory of all the devices. Yep, all the systems in the environment, and then it provisions servers via TFTP and gives out appropriate components. So let's take each of these in their pieces, which is actually funny because I just deleted all the slides. I could have just left them up. No, we'll be okay for now. We'll leave that for now. That's good enough. So then, let's say our next slide. Let's copy this image. This is my next one. So it says that Werewolf takes over an environment and starts to do this. Well, Werewolf manages the entire environment. And we could say that with this, and with the nice little designer, it'll try to help me out again here. There we go. But let's take this. So how does it do that? And the answer to that is here. Let's go with this. Oh, that's terrible. All right. It also has node definitions. It has so it has node definitions, power, let's say IPMI connections, has systems overlays, runtime overlays. What other things does Werewolf have? It has system, or we can say node. We don't call them container images anymore. We can call them just images, but images, image, image storage, and building it. I mean, because you build and work on the images as well. So image, let's not say image storage. Let's say image. I guess it kind of is a storage. Repository is fair. DHCP settings, IPMI connections, image repository. So node definitions are node definitions, customizations for each node, DHCP settings and ranges. It takes IPMI connections, so it can do power and console, right? So this is power and console. You can go with Werewolf, you can console directly into boxes if you have IPMI connections. So it's an awesome control of your environment. Image repository and building, system overlays, runtime overlays, and then optional, you can have different kernels for your different systems. So this is what Werewolf does in an environment, right? And then we can get rid of images. Get that slide. Power status and reset capabilities, right? We've got that mentioned up there. So how does Werewolf build and configure node images? I'm going to show that. That's going to be like a demo. Not a demo. Like I said, you don't really do demos, but I'm going to say here examples from terminal. How does it configure images? And then importing and customizing images. And I'm going to probably show how our pipeline works. So show how our pipeline works. In fact, I have an example of that. So let's go grab that right now. So importing, so let's get this out of the way. This is an actual example of our pipeline. I drew this up for a customer and then I ended up not using it. So it's not exact anymore, but Where is it at? I got it right here. So this is like part of our container build process, but I really only want to capture from a drawing perspective this right here. Give me a second. I really only need this part right here. Okay. I think that's really all I need to draw. I might clean this drawing up a little, but we'll see. And boom, get that out of the way. And let's see what it gives me as maybe a way that I want to present that. That might be, oh, that looks like shit. You can go up there in the corner. Importing custom images. Let's see what this slide looks like. Missed all that, didn't I? All right, gotta do it again. Gotta do it again. Yeah, missed all my numbers on the side. So that's terrible. Let's try it again. Let's go. Let me see if this one's better. This. Let's give this a chance to use. You gotta get better designs than that. I don't like any of these. It's okay. We can make it work ourselves. This one might look better like that. Sometimes you got to do, yeah. And then the way this will look on the actual screen will be a little more readable. So importing customized images, Werewolf container build process, we pull down into our local repository, boom. Rocky 9.3 is the example I had at the time, so that's what I'll keep for this. And then build with Podman or any other tool you want to build a container file, add images, add software. So when we redo this again, we'll build all this in with like Podman to our system. We won't ever have to go one-off these like you guys saw me doing a while back. I was one-offing them into the images. It's terrible. It's better to just rebuild the image, save it locally to a, this is like on the local host in your, just your local repository, and then you just re-import it into Werewolf as whatever, and then you can go and push it out to, in my case, I was doing Ansible security stigs on it, Werewolf overlays, you can do whatever kind of configurations you want, and then you produce secure images that go and deploy out, you know, I might even put something here that says like deploy into the environment or whatever, right? So this is kind of what importing and customizing the images look like. All right, don't worry guys, this is like a very rough version of this. This is the very first version, right? You guys are watching me do this live. So import or build images, I kind of already talked about that here. So we will say import or build images. This slide can be deleted for now. By the way, I do have my original outline, so all of my notes, I can get them back if I needed to. So building and customizing overlays. So overlays come later, right? So let's get rid of this one too. Delete that one for now. So we start to build things. We start to customize our overlays a little bit. And I have a, might show a little bit on this. Overlays, customize servers around, yep, that kind of stuff. Building and defining nodes, assigning node personalization, good. Werewolf build, boot process for nodes. This is probably where I'm going to drop this last image. So I have this last image, I was just messing around with these. That's the other one. This one will be the... This is maybe my favorite one because it's like pushing the shit into the servers because that's legitimately what it does, right? So I think it's hilarious, but I'll tell you guys, I couldn't resist doing one more of the Werewolf boot process for nodes, and then we'll take that off. Oh, no, I didn't mean to do any of that. Mistakes have been made. All right, Werewolf boot process for nodes. And then I could probably even add, yeah, kind of like the other ones. I'll just start adding in my text here, right? Stateless node comes up, queries DHCP, is identified via its MAC address. So stateless node boots and queries DHCP. Werewolf responds and identifies first server via MAC, right? Because MAC is static in an environment. Werewolf identifies server via MAC and gives iPXE boot information. Server takes, server starts. So there's different ways that this can go. It can be an init RAM FS. It can be an iPXE boot. It can be a Dracket boot. So server starts with minimal boot kernel and downloads the two components it needs. Those two components are the werewolf or the node image and well, the node image is so out of the two components it needs, it's actually the kernel and the init RAM FS. So we watch those things boot, and then server starts or server pulls overlays and pulls system overlays and applies them. Server starts WW client and pulls runtime overlays every it's configurable, but every 10 minutes, let's just say. And I'll put, because we've actually had to turn that down in some clusters that are so big that we don't want it hitting the nodes that often. Let's uppercase some things that are proper nouns, system overlays, kernel, yeah, that's fine. Kernel, and downloads two components it needs. It's actual kernel and it's init RAM FS. Yep. Oh, no, we'll leave it like it is because I prefer it looking like that. So, server starts with and downloads the two components it needs over, if we care, over TFTP protocol. Right. Okay. So now we got all those pieces stuffed into this thing, right? And here's what the basic presentation would kind of look like for now. Werewolf, I'm not sold on that, but I'm not like some of you guys that have seen my actually, years ago, one of my buddies came and taught with me for a couple quarters at ITT Tech, and he looked at my slides and he goes, "White? Really? Just white with black letters?" And I'm like, "Yeah, pretty vanilla. This is pretty I mean, at least you guys got me in dark mode, right?" In my dark mode arc, when I used to do everything in light mode, people used to always complain on stream. They'd be like, "I'm trying to sleep over here and you're flashbanging." But anyways, werewolf presentation for Prolog and work, 1 hour brown bag. If we're doing Prolog, say what do we do around here, and I'll say we teach people about Linux and Linux jobs, sometimes using HPC or supercomputers. So that's what you guys will see if we do that talk. And then if I do the red line, it'll be what do we do around here? Red line, we build and maintain HPC and supercomputers for customers, and fun and profit and stuff, right? And then main new server deployments are utilizing Werewolf. I don't like that already. So, oh, and then I said yeah. So if I'm doing red lines, I'll do the few customers that we've deployed or worked with. Okay. And then what do we do around here? Yeah, we maintain and build supercomputers. Yeah. Down here, how do we build supercomputers, or alternatively, what are supercomputers? And it's everything here, right? It's rack and stack 50. If it's 50 rows of server components and they're being built out by Dell and sent to the customer, and we're the ones that are doing all the configurations and all of the OS deployments on all of the things that matter to the actual operations of the system, all the way up to like software stack and benchmark testing. We do all that stuff, right? And then I'll talk through this a little bit, right, with the guys. I'll tell them, like, these are the things that we build, and these are the component pieces and all that stuff. And then how does Werewolf work as a cluster manager in this smaller subset of like cluster services and provisioning? Okay, so what does it do? Werewolf takes over an environment, runs DHCP, assigns identity for iPXE boot. Werewolf keeps an inventory of all systems in the environment, and it provisions servers via TFTP and gives out the appropriate components. Those components are, node definitions, images, system overlays, runtime overlays, kernels, all of these different pieces, right? So I'll talk through those different pieces. I'll get down here and I say, as the images, they're fully customizable. We bring them in a pipeline. We work them in as a full pipeline. But here's the thing. Once we build them and once they go into a SCIF, there's no more of this build pipeline. The outside piping and plumbing is all busted. You can't get anything else into a SCIF. If we wanted to do this in a SCIF, we would have to pull an image down, get it scanned in through security, put it in the environment, and then start it right here and build the rest of the way. Which we haven't had to do that yet, but we've had to do similar stuff to that on some systems. Because some systems, even systems we've used at some colleges, are working in with some of the government systems, so then they can't be, it's kind of an interesting thing. But all right, building and customizing overlays, I'll talk about that. I'm gonna have a lot of like slide decks of like showing the commands and stuff. Customize variables around servers defined in node configurations. So let's go grab a node configuration just so somebody could see what that might look like. Did I close? It's actually funny, I did close this down, didn't I? Because it was bugging me so much. Let's go jump into my home lab again. And I never mind closing out my PuTTY window, because once we get back in, it should just drop us right back into the environment, right? But this is what a Werewolf, let's go like Rocky 5. Here is a node image with all the configuration pieces that we might need to know about this server. Grab this real quick here. And this again is like from my home lab environment, so I can show this to anybody and it's not a big deal. Overlays, customize servers, variables defined in node configurations. And I might show hold on, I might want this in building and defining nodes, right? Hold on, I may like, so I can take this and I can crop. Where's my crop at? Crop, because I don't want this crap on the side over here. There we go. All right, building and defining nodes. Move that up. grab this. It's all the stuff you guys see me do probably daily if you're here. I'm always doing this crap. Right there. So, building and defining nodes needs to go first, and then customizing nodes inside of overlays. I will show this again. So, here, stick with me because I'm telling a story, right? So this again, but make it smaller, right? And then we go grab over here and we do like CTL overlay list. Let's do like etc, fs tab dash a, right? And then we do overlay cat fs tab etsy fs tab .www, right? And it'll show that, right? And then what we'll show, one last thing, is we'll do an SSH to auto 5, and in there we'll do a df-h here, and we'll pull it all together. So I know it's a lot, but watch. Watch. Copy. It's going to seem like a lot, right? Because you're going to be like, Scott, it's too much on one slide. But what I'm going to show is this. It's going to be a flow. I might have to put them side by side. I know it's going to be small, but watch. Trust me. I think I can make it work. And I'll use arrows. We need little arrows to draw some stuff. And we'll say, see all these etcfs tabs? They are going right here. That needs to be like a thick boy. Come on, shape. Here. What's the weight of this shape? Get bigger. There we go. Boom. That defines the file systems there, and then it nets into the actual system, right? Then this gets defined into the system right here, and that thing needs to be a thick boy too. Weight. Get your weight up. Boom. So here we might say, we might insert, we might even make this red as a text box, and then say defined variables. Defined variables. And then this is template, right? Whoops. Insert. Let's grab this. Or overlay. Right? Overlay template here, and then output. Or running. Right? And maybe I even put numbers next to them and say, like, 1 is we have these defined variables down here. So this might be 1. And then those defined variables go into this overlay template right here. Let's see how that looks here. think that's a little better. So you can see a bunch of defined variables, even if you don't know what they all are, right? They're file systems, right? There's 4 of them, in fact. There's 4 file systems. This is JSON right here. There's 4 file systems defined in there. And then comes up here and it goes into this template. And it says if these mount options, and it adds all these things. And the running config that's output is actually shown right here. And I actually can show that a different way too. Let's see which way we think is better, right? Here's the node. And then here's the, this is actually super awesome. We can cat that etcfs tab and we can say render for auto 5. And it'll say, this is the way I would build it if it was that node. I think that's a really cool, I think that's a cool one too. I think that this one may be, or we can even say, I can make this 2 different, watch, we can do this as 2 different ones. Watch, we could say, watch, let me grab this here. Again, this is why I said, like, we'll have, guys, we'll have so many of these. We'll have so much actual stuff that I'm glad that I have stripped it down from being 40 slides. Now we're moving it down. Now it's expanding back out again. Because watch this. This one is going to become, watch what this one's going to do. So we'll say building customized systems. This is a running system, right? And then we could do duplicate slide. And then on this one, it can be like render check. So this is before the system even, watch me grab all this stuff here. And we'll drop that in there. And we'll say that even before, we'll just do it like this. Really bugs me though that stuff's over there being cropped. I don't know how I keep grabbing that on the side of that. So this is a render check. This means before I ever deploy it, I could know exactly what it's going to come out as, right? And then this is a running system. This is like the net effect of that thing that we just built. So I kind of like that. I think building and customizing overlays, render check, and then building and customizing overlays in a running system. It'll show both ways that you can kind of validate and go back and forth between your stuff. I think that's good. When I give this talk to the group, I'll give this to the Prolog group probably a few times for practice. I like to get my timing down to get it right around. It's going to be an hour talk, but I'll probably do my hour. Well, my hour talks go a whole hour because I don't shut up. But typically, if I'm giving an hour talk, I try to end at like 50 minutes, and then I can give people time for questions because I'm sure there'll be some type of questions. But again, you'll see that I'm not doing this as a live demo. When I do this for you guys, like I'm doing now, I'll walk through all this shit as a live demo if you guys want, when I do the actual presentation of this. But when I'm building it, you're just kind of getting to watch me do the commands and run the things, right, and whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, pretty well finished slides. We're already over, we're down to 24 slides, so we're shrinking it back down, but it's going to grow back out again. I'm hoping to keep it around 30 though. But you guys can see that it's already like pretty dense. I could talk to these slides right now for an hour if we wanted to, right? For Prolog and work. Here's somebody up here sneaking up on me. What are you doing up here, woman? You guys probably didn't hear. She said she's getting her book. I actually did. I mean, I don't care. I just was surprised that normally when they're doing like all the women downstairs at the book club, they don't come up here, and I just heard somebody coming up the stairs, and I'm like, wait a minute. All right. So what do we do here? Again, it'll be one or the other. I don't know if we gotta fix that. Gotta fix that, and we gotta fix this. And on the designer, we might make this one not. If we want to edit it without the designer, I think we got to go to animations because I'm pretty sure that's just an animation pane. Yeah. And all we got to do is remove. Yeah, you just remove the animation. That animation's a little bothersome. Yeah, I prefer that. All right. Because people only see one or the other. Many new servers are. Main new server deployments are that. We'll put some of our customers in there. How do we build supercomputers, or alternatively, what are supercomputers? And maybe I should say, and their components. As Werewolf works as cluster manager. You guys think I should just take all those animations out? That is kind of bothersome, isn't it? Although I love those stupid pictures. Because I said a werewolf that couldn't pick its next target, and that's what it did. So I thought that was funny. And then werewolf takes over an environment, does the things that it needs to, controls everything, and functions, in our case, as both the scheduler and not scheduler. It's the provisioning server and the cluster services. Other tools that used to do this before Werewolf were around were XCAT was a big one. HPCM was a relatively big one. Shasta was kind of an up and coming one, but Shasta got tanked when Cray got bought by HPE in 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. Chris, how are we doing tonight? We're doing good. I'm just going through a presentation that I'm going to give for work. Excuse me. How does Werewolf work as a cluster manager? Well, it's going to take over an environment, right? It's going to run DHCP and assign identities for iPXE. Let's go look at other things Werewolf's doing. Let's just make sure that we get all of them. Cat Etsy Werewolf, werewolf.conf. Does TFTP? Does DHCP? It runs its own Werewolf port. That's fine. It can share NFS, and it generates and controls keys, and then it has any other information. So let's add those things just so we've got them all captured, right? As this right here. Shares out NFS. Why is that not? Tell me that's not the same. It's definitely not the same. This is 24. This is only 18. Get bigger. All right. Shares out NFS. Controls cluster keys. Controls and can't rotate cluster keys. It can also control users. Control or share users for the cluster if you want it to. So it will do those things. That's very true. Move this up a little bit. Control share users for cluster if you want it to. It'll do that. There we go. Move that up just a little bit more. And maybe we get rid of this too. Yeah, because all those are a little bothersome. Maybe we don't really need any of those. They were fun to start, but then they just got so annoying. And what the hell is that? Importing something? Don't want it. Get out of there. We don't need none of that other crap. I'm a very vanilla presenter, guys. My presentations are one monotone, one speed. Speed tends to be pretty fast, though. Werewolf pushes it into the system. I will probably grab some pictures of it booting. Node boots and request DHCP address. I can show that. All F's in the destination bucket. Yes, of course. These are all really supposed to be one slide, probably. So it pulls down two things from TFT port 69, the kernel, and the init RAM FS. That's funny that those are all on different. These are all supposed to be really the same thing. Kernel mounts everything into temp FS. Okay, Oh wow, so I am gonna have to add some because these are all literally just like the same set of slides that I'm about to grab right now. These. So right here. This actually goes down here. Whoops. I don't know what I just undid, so I'm gonna go back forward. This. Node boot. Node boot process. Here we go. It's literally all these things underneath. Frame. Werewolf responds and gives identity information. Yep. Server pulls down two things. TFTP. I know this is the boring part, guys. I know. But this is what we do. Init RAM FS and kernel. RamFS and the kernel. Boom. Server runs two-stage Dracket, or this is or can happen with other methods. There's other methods, but I'll show that I'm only doing certain things. Smitty number one said, how many control nodes does Werewolf use here? In this one, just one. When we build them for our customers, there's two, and they have a direct attached storage. That's all the configuration, and then one node or the other node is always on via. We use a CoroSync and Pacemaker, so one is active and one is standby. And then if one ever goes down or doesn't respond, the other one stoneths it over IPMI and takes over the cluster. So we have a highly available. And does everybody here know what stoneth means? Stoneth is one of my favorites. Here. Stoneth. I want to post that in here and on YouTube for people. Anybody want to go look up what stoneth means? It's a technical term. All right, let's grab these boots. Let's grab the boot process. We will use one of our nodes, and we will start the boot process here. So let's go over to, for my lab environment, we will just, who's it going to be? We're going to use Auto5. Poor Auto5, he's getting rebooted so much tonight. But let's reboot him. And then I'm going to go grab my, here, get ready to capture. So I don't have a delay on my capture, so when I hit this, it'll lock the screen for my capture. But let's see if we can get these individual components. So node boots and request DHCP, and then it's going to respond and give the iPXE information and do all that. So give it a second here. Shoot the other node in the head. That's exactly what stoneth means, yes. Shoot the other node in the head. I've been using that one for a long time. Good old stoneth. Okay. So here he is. He's booting up. He's doing his DHCP. I'm going to grab this right here. Okay. I'm going to grab that, copy it, move it into here. I'm just going to go down to my next slide here. And I've already gotten, I think, past my Drac. There's a Dracket. I want it. Fuck. I'm going to have to reboot him. Because it's already past that. But then this is, well, I could grab this too. Hold on. No. New. Boom. Werewolf server. There we go. It's a good one too. Copy that. Get this out of the way. Drop it down there for now. That's fine. That's part of the one after And there's one other one that would be kind of nice to grab in here. Oops. Mounts everything into TempFS. I may leave this. We'll leave out the errors. Don't care about the errors. Errors are in any system, right? Just noise. Not all systems, but I just don't have time to clean them up in the lab. I'm going to try to grab the overlays being applied, which will be the next screen here. System overlays being applied. Right here. Yep. So there's our system overlays being applied in my home lab. Copy. Boom. And then the node's up. All right, so the node's up, and then the last thing that I want to do is show just the running node here. Right? So this is my auto box, and he is. And I'll see, and I'll actually ask the guys, that'll be one of my questions at the end, is what is the, in this server, what is the, in my automation server, what is the thing that's happening? All right, let's go here. Okay, slide. Kernel mounts everything. NFS, that's true. But it can be done as persistent disks, that's true. So, this is technically part of the boot though, so it'll probably be as part of the node boot process. So node boot process here is, this is the node boot process up unto, no. This is the Dracket part. So we're going to take this right here, and we're going to duplicate this slide, and then we're going to go grab this little guy here, and we're going to X him out, and we're going to put him on this one. But then we're going to say, this is more part of the node boot process, but this is down here on the Dracket part, because it's starting the 2-stage right there. So we've got the node boot process starting to pull stuff down. Gets to the kernel and the init ramfs. Yep, node boot process, and then this next one will also be node boot process. Okay, slide. Kernel mounts everything into TempFS, which will be this last thing. That'll be out there. Oh no, I apologize. There's more that needs to come in here. System overlays are applied, right? This is systems overlays being applied right here. Still all part of the node boot process. Here's my different overlays being applied. And then this last one is the kernel. Duplicate the slide. Right. Kernel mounts everything into TempFS, but really just that. All right, get rid of that one. Get rid of this one. Yeah. And then just in keeping with the same ideas from the other slide, I'm going to keep this all to the right. Right, so this all stays kind of in the same general area as part of the node boot process. Server runs Dracket stage 2. We'll pull that out just because I think that this will be there, and then we might have to suck it up and number these, because it might make more sense for these to be numbered 1 through 5, and then this right here would be 6. Start numbering at 6. Not gonna let me start it at 6. Numbered. Start at 6. There we go. Boom. And then this one will start at numbering 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. Boom. Node boot process. And then, but this can be done as persistent disks. This is an important thing to note because some customers do not. So there are ways to play with Werewolf where you're doing stateful nodes, and not everybody wants to play that way. So I'm gonna note it. That's funny. I'm just gonna do it like this and say, but it can be done as persistent disks. But generally speaking, if you're playing in the Werewolf world, you don't want that. Like, people don't want that. It's not that they might not want that because that's what they're used to. That's just probably not a use case that's real. Because, like, real quick to get back into teaching mode for a second there. If we go back up here, the only thing I care about these compute nodes is the capacity. Let's say I have 1,000 compute nodes in my cluster. 20 of them are probably going to be down at any given time. That's just the nature of component pieces. But since a supercomputer is essentially using all of its compute resource as one machine, and then you schedule against that machine with your scheduler, I mean, having 2% of your system down is a thing we want to minimize. We don't want to leave it there, and we don't want it to get up around 4 or 5%, because if you're lazy and you're not getting nodes back into clusters, you will get to these other percentages of nodes, and it's not good. It starts to breach contracts and stuff like that. But where I'm going with that is, a lot of times I don't give a shit. As long as my node is up and it is in the state of everything else, I don't care if the node had rebooted yesterday or if it was the image from last month. Like, I want it to be the exact same software and image for all those other things. But what I'm saying is I don't care if it's running off a physical disk, because all that stuff is coming in through my back-end storage. And these high-performance storage networks, we've talked about them before, they're so fast that those disks might as well be local to every single one of those servers. The disks are that fast in parallel systems. The access into the storage and stuff, Weka, Lustre, GPFS, all of these tools that we use, they're faster than your laptop is accessing its own disk, like in a home laptop environment. I can say that almost to everybody here for sure. And the only people that would probably be able to say that's not true are people that are doing like high-end drafting or engineering, where they have like $20,000 desktops. Maybe some high-end gamers might have that too, but for the most part, these things are faster, right? They're designed to be faster. I mean, they do massive amounts of parallel computations, right? But that's not going to be even talked about in this discussion. I'm just telling you, like, the idea that you would use disks here, you can do it. It's just not really something we do. Right? It's not really. They might not be faster in local NVMe, but in an aggregate they are, for sure. Yeah, if you're talking like, an NVMe or even like multiple, because you have such, we're talking terabytes and terabytes, and I wouldn't say I've ever used a data set that's over a petabyte, but I've used data sets that expand many hundreds of terabytes, and that is definitely faster access across all of that. Yeah, for sure, than anything local would be, as far as especially the size. Yeah. All right. Oh my gosh, I already did that one. Oh, I can get rid of this one. All right. Oh, whoops. Let's get rid of delete. Hold on. Node boot, node boot, node boot. There. All right, node personalization. I thought I already showed that here. That was the overlay stuff. Building and defining nodes. That's kind of the node personalization. I think I already did those two as well, because customizing overlays on running systems or a render check. Defining nodes. Okay. Yeah, that's 19. So that's essentially like 3 minutes per slide for me to talk. And then maybe a little less because of the fact that we're, I mean, only one or the other of these will be on, whether ProLug or Redline. Oh, by the way, got to put some respect on that. That's how you spell Redline if you're using our company, right? Many new servers. So this will be when I split, I'll split these off, and one will be the professional one for work, and one will be for you guys. I will put all the stuff for work in there, all the work ones. For generically speaking, I can speak to some of these for who I know that Werewolf is going on, like from a generic, but not from like a professional standpoint, obviously. Smitty, you said, what do we use? Plain Ethernet, SPF, fiber. We use InfiniBand, and InfiniBand tends to be, well, InfiniBand can be a few things. It can be copper. We use fiber. Our individual, so we use QSF links, which are quad speed fiber. I think QSF stands for. I'd have to look that up. But those are to each of our individual compute nodes on some clusters. It's either 200 or 400 gigabits per second, right, into the file system. It bypasses all the kernel stuff, goes directly to memory because it's I'm drawing a blank on that technology right off, but it's that. And then to our actual systems over there, yeah, it's ridiculously fast. Like if I looked up like right now here, I'll show you like some of the card technologies. Hold on. If we did, oh shit, where's that? If I did like ConnectX 5, like what's a ConnectX 7 card in one of these boxes? That's probably about what they cost too. Let's see what the speed on these bad boys are. We get them typically, they're Dell branded. Sometimes they have the Ethernet built in them too, and then the Ethernet will be 100 gig Ethernet. Yeah, 400 gigabit Ethernet. This is ConnectX 400 gig Ethernet single port OSFP PCI 5X. But then it goes in, what's that technology? RDMA. It goes directly to the memory, so it like hits it. It's fast. Yeah. And then they're not cheap. But I can tell you right now that's a very cheap component compared to the price of some box. I've told you guys, like I have these boxes that I use. They're about like 6 U's like this, and they have 4 A100 cards in them. So you guys know what an A100 card is? A100 card GPU, right? They'll have 4 of these in them, like an A100 card, if you could even get them right now, right? But there'll be 4 of them, and the box itself, the whole box, that's about this big, is about 450 grand. Obviously, I'm not paying for that, but I've told people before, like I move servers around that cost more than my house did, right? Like it's kind of wild, and they're only like between our servers are between 2 and 6 U's typically, right? And if everybody knows, a U is 1 3/4 inches each U, so like a 2U server is 3 and some change inches or whatever. You can look all that up if you want, but those are all standardized in racks. Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, that's a pretty cheap component in the big scheme of things. And then our storage nodes have 10 of these cards in them. So the storage nodes are next level. I mean, if you want to go look up fast, go look up what Weka can do. WEKA. That's kind of a big. Yeah, Enzo Bear. Yeah. You work in server, and that's the thing, Enzo Bear. When you work in some of these data centers, you see like capacity that like you didn't even think could exist, And then you think, Enzo Bear, with your company, you're like, and we have like 500 of these around the planet, like of just this, So it's kind of wild how much money and speed is in these. Yeah, and we use InfiniBand for it. InfiniBand can use, you can label Ethernet over the top of it, so you can actually use IP addresses over the top. It's pretty simple. My company tends to do that, where even though you can use like a worldwide identifier type number, that's too much. We'll assign Ethernet over the top. Ethernet. We'll assign IP addresses over the top, so then we can use IP addressing to talk over there too, and it actually makes some really fast connections. Yeah, it's all RDMA. And then the data rate, it's interesting. The data rate can step down if you don't have the capacity on your switches, but you typically want to use QDR for this. But these are the other data rates you can use as well. But yeah, that's fun. So, um, red line. Yeah, yeah. I think that presentation's getting there. It's not great yet, right? But one thing I'm gonna do. So this is all like talk about things, and then what I was gonna do, and probably it'll be before the review because the review will be at the end. I always do all the things I'm gonna tell you, then all this, then I review exactly what I just told you, and then I do questions and like typically my contact information, which you guys here, you know how to get a hold of me. It's just in Discord, and then there's that. Senam, you asked, have I worked on NetApp server? Yeah, I've done some NetApp stuff. Although I don't work on NetApp like natively. I mostly connect into NetApp, and then I'll have like a storage guy or something that'll run the NetApp side of things. But yeah, I've connected to them. NFS, CIFS, Samba, I guess, if I'm being honest. Yeah, there's all that stuff. Quartz One, you said, good evening. You're redoing your Proxmox. I'm wondering, should I go minimal Rocky VMs this time or DVD? I don't have experience with minimal, but it will make me better. Yeah, Quartz, minimal is fine. What I would tell you to do, probably if it were me, is this is my thoughts on it. Do one of each. You know, I mean, Proxmox should be easy. Spin up one of each. Should only take you probably 15, 20 minutes on each. Get them up. See which one you like more. Let's say you go, you know what? I do want to use minimal because I want to get better at this. But you're like, but I want to keep my use the regular one. If you like the regular DVD with full everything, use that as your jump box, right? So then jump into that environment with that and use that one for where you do all your work, and then just jump out into those other boxes and do whatever you want. That's what I'd do. If I redo my home lab into Proxmox ever, which may come one day in the future, well, I won't ever redo all the things that are active, but I will build new ones and slowly move over there. I may just put most of that stuff up into the Werewolf cluster and just let Werewolf run it all, right? Because I'm a big fan of doing that now since I do it professionally, and I just, God, man, I mean, it's the same thing with like the Cult of Ansible. I always tell you guys, like, there's a Cult of Ansible, and then when I show you Ansible for like 20 minutes, and you're like, whoa, hold on, I can do all that with Ansible, and I'm like, yeah, and then you're like, all right, give me a robe, I'm in the cult, right? And then that's how you get people in the cult, is just by showing them all the simple things you can do with the technology, right? And so anyways, Quartz, that's what I would say is build one of each, because it's probably a minimal amount of your time in the big scheme of things. Find which one you like, and then if you want to use minimal everywhere else, but still have everything in kind of like a nice cushy chair, use that for your jump box. That's what I would do. So then you can understand why there's a cult. Yeah, Zorgo, I tell people all the time, man. So there was an old, I always give references that people just look at me like, good God, Scott, you're crazy. If you guys didn't know this, in the 90s, we used to get comedy via like CDs, right? We would get a CD or even a tape. Back in the early 90s, it was tapes. And Adam Sandler used to release tapes of, or CDs, we had CDs, of his jokes. And his jokes and his skits were not appropriate for us in like 7th or 8th grade. But I don't know how we got a hold of these, but we did. But anyways, in one of his skits, they've got the guy's like telling his buddy, join this cult with me, bro. And he's like, there's this really hot girl I want to talk to, and she's in the cult. Well, anyways, where I'm going with that is, I always make this joke, like me and some of my friends, we all get it, but it's like, the nighttime is the right time, the nighttime is the right time. And he's like, I'm sorry I made you join a cult with me and you had to kill your parents. And he's like, it was the only way to save them, bro. And that's like the end of their little thing. There's like this chant going, the nighttime is the right time. It's just this old Adam Sandler skit. And if you guys think Adam Sandler's weird now, like, and you're like, oh man, he's got some weird stuff, he was way weirder in the 90s. I assure you, there's nothing probably weirder than you can find than if you go to YouTube and look up at a medium pace. That is not appropriate for anybody. They're all gonna laugh at you. Yeah, they're all gonna laugh at you. That one is, that's jogging some memories that are dark, man. Jesus. There's legitimately something that I want to say right now from that, where like I would probably get kicked off of Twitch for it. But it's because he's acting as the mom, and she's telling the daughter what she's got to do with her boyfriend. And she says, I literally can't even say it, but it's I mean I could say it, but I couldn't say it on stream or on YouTube. I'll just suffice to say, go look up that was actually the name of one of the CDs too, was They're All Gonna Laugh at You. That mom. Do you want mommy to do it for you? Are you too scared to go? Oh my god. That's dark right there, man. So the overview. What do we do around here, right? I'm just going through the sites pretty much. Why are we talking about werewolf? Right, it's very relevant, and that's the next slide. Like, many new deployments are using this tool, right? And then what is a supercomputer or HPC system, right? Like, what is that? Let's just level set that across the board, what we're talking about, right? That's and sometimes when I give presentations, it's, if I'm giving presentations to you guys, and I know this just from having done this for a while, I'm always going to have one person in the back. I'll be like 10 minutes in that's like, what's a Linux kernel? And I'm like, oh shit, that person has not listened to a single thing I've said because I was talking about all these other things. But when I'm talking to like the people that have been around for a bit, there's some assumptions I can make. Like I don't have to explain to you like what I mean when I say SSH into a server. You've done it before. You've been around, right? Anyway, so there's that. Then we'll talk about what does werewolf do. What does the werewolf do? And then how does it do it? Right? I don't want to give anything away here. So what does werewolf do? How does it do it? Maybe here I'll say like components. How does it do it? Maybe and then maybe concepts, workflows. Concepts, workflows. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then one of my favorite things about this is I can just grab this, and if I change this or add stuff to it later, I'll just add to it. I just take this right here, drop it down here, and it's. I do, guys. I'm very much tell them what I'm gonna tell them, tell them what I just told them, because people need a certain amount of repetition for things to sink in. If they're not already somewhat familiar with it, which is why, like especially with my college students, I say read the book before you come to class, right? Because then if you at least have like a framework, ideas stick better to it. It's the same thing if you guys have ever seen somebody, I don't know, you've seen somebody spraying stucco on a wall or something. They have like that fencing first, kind of looks like chicken wire, so that it can stick. But if you didn't have that, it would just gloop down the wall. Or if you ever seen somebody paint a car, you can't just paint, like in your house you can paint right over the walls, but sometimes you got to do it twice if you're going from light to dark or dark to light. But on cars you can't do that. You need to prime that. You got to sand the old stuff off and put some primer on, which is, it's got this grit to it so that the paint can stick to it. If you don't do that, right? And it's the same thing with this. So since I can't give anybody pre-work, right? I can't give any of you go read this stuff first. I can't do that with my other, people that work with me. They're doing their own stuff too. I will just tell them what I'm going to tell them, show them, and then tell them again at the end, right? All these pieces. If it were like a longer thing, we would do that whole idea of like explore, practice apply, right? We would explore everything and talk about it. I would make them practice individual component pieces of it, and then we would apply it to like a business case or a business solution, right? I don't have time for that in an hour talk, so explore, practice, apply is out. But I do like that methodology. I think that's going to be my methodology going forward in everything. And like everything's going to be, and we were already kind of doing that. It was like the ideas and the concepts up front, maybe some discussions of things that you read, and then the the lab where you practice things and did it, and then whatever projects we had or whatever at the end, right, to apply it to real life. By the way, people just finished pretty much turning in all their Linux sysadmin stuff, and it was pretty good. I think I've had 3 people reach out to me so far, so that's a pretty good amount. I think we had 9 or 10 the first time that finished, but we had a little less that we're doing it the second time, but I think we had 3 finished. We might have had a 4th one. I'll have to check. But they were good projects. Lots of good stuff going on. All right. So this presentation, I don't know, I'd call it like 60% of the way there. And why does this thing, oh my God, I hate that. I think it's like trying to save up into the cloud or something. File. What was this thing trying to save to? Yeah, it's trying to save up to my like one device stuff. I don't want none of that stuff. Save it to my local machine. Oh geez. Yeah, go documents, Linux group. Oh, presentations or something, right? Yeah. Just throw it in presentations for now. Werewolf. Oh, and then we'll do one, well, we'll split it out later. I'm not going to split it right now. But we'll do one for each. So. All right, good. Put some water in here. All right. So what questions does everybody have? Any, that's all clear as mud, right? Don't worry, I wasn't giving this presentation yet to you guys. And I still have a whole thing to add to that around some of this node stuff, because where we define them, how we build them, I have a lot of stuff that I can add here, but I don't want to overwhelm the general idea of like what we're doing with it, right? Because when I give the presentation, it's going to be more about like what Werewolf does. Werewolf presentation for Prolog and for work. 1 hour brown bag. I take the 1 hour brown bag off because that doesn't really matter. Let's give this designer another shot because I don't really. What does that look like? Something like that. Boom. That's like the worst. I don't like that. Right? Because it's going to be September when I probably give it. That's good enough. Good enough for government work. All right. Quartz, what'd you say? Kind of. Well, Quartz, it depends. That's a good one. 8, 9, or 10. I'm working almost exclusively in 9, so I would say my base system's all 9. But I do want to get some 10 going. And I haven't seen any 10 images come up, so I might have to build, my own 10 image. So yeah, I would say Quartz have. So for me, if it were me and I was building this to like have stuff on my resume that looked nice to get in somewhere, I would probably use the one that's going to be the most popular in the industry right now, which is 9, and then I would be working on 10 as like my experimental stuff. I would just practice deploying stuff into 10. I would maybe make sure some of my scripts worked between 9 and 10, like maybe some of my Ansible playbooks. It built everything over here. What's different? And then I'd find differences in because when you do things that are like system wide and you run big playbooks, you find little shit that's busted or little shit that's different. But major version releases are allowed to break things. That's why they're a major version release and not a minor version release. So yeah, yeah. Well, and then there's also some deprecations as well. Yeah, I don't think I can run 10 on most of my hardware in this lab. Most of my hardware in the lab is over 5. Let me think. Most of the hardware in my lab I got over 5 years ago. So, you know, and it was mostly end of service life when I got it, or I got it from a company that was refreshing after over 3 years. So a lot of my stuff is pretty old as far as the, like, in fact, I get deprecation warnings up and down on the Rocky 9 stuff. So I don't expect my stuff to work on 10 yet. But yeah, that's another thing to think, Quartz, is how old is your equipment for sure. Let me pull my Linux stuff back up. And you guys can't see it, but I've got this thing right here. That's just artifacting like crazy. Looks like a glitch in the Matrix or something. So, all right. But try all 3. Yeah, I would definitely mess with them. No reason not to try, right? What else do we have? We got our back. Oh, I was gonna write the backup for NFS. Yeah, we could just loop over those, and then we could just have it drop out like a report and backup every time. So let's just run this real quick too, just so we have opt backed up as well. That wasn't good. 12 gigs. Yeah. Yeah, so we use, I mean, we're only going to get archival, so it's only going to be diff, but that's so crazy. You guys can't see that. Zorgal, you don't see anything flickering right here, right? Like massively flickering, like hold on, I want to drop this in the Discord so you guys can see. I want to do this so you guys don't, I mean, I can be crazy, but I'm going to be crazy for a different reason. All right, hold on. The weird artifact thing. Okay, I'm dropping that in Discord right now, and I'm gonna let you guys see it. Hold on. We're gonna YouTube questions. Let's check this other one out too. Put the other one from earlier too. Hold on. Right. So this is what I'm seeing on my screen, guys. Hold on. Because I know it's going to happen here because I'm actually showing the... It's still doing it right there. But look, this was the... You guys see that artifacting it's doing? Weird artifact thing. Isn't that weird? Now watch the other one. This is the other one. And you can't see it. It's doing it right now over here. You can't see it over there. It's like the whole thing. and you can't see it. You can't see it over there. Hold on. That's what it looks like. A weird artifact thing. That would be really weird if it wasn't coming through there, but no, it's got to come through there. I've recorded it with an out of. Just started at the beginning of stream. I've closed everything. I'm gonna have to just reboot the whole thing, but all right. We are at 2.5 hours. I'll probably be done here soon, but hopefully at least this stuff was somewhat useful. Nick Hill, you said, where can you access my notes? I put notes up in the Discord pretty often in the, where's it at? Meeting notes channel. That tends to be the best place to find my notes. The last notes I put were like from a home lab build out. People wanted some ideas on home lab build out stuff. These notes, if you say, hey, where can I get this? When I am done with this presentation, when this presentation's ready to actually present to you guys, I will put this up in the Discord. This will be up in the Discord after I give the presentation. I always do that. Not before, though, because I don't like putting stuff out there when it's not, like, finished work. But yeah, all my other notes, like everything we work on and stuff, and all my old stuff that we've worked on stream is up in the Discord. I kind of use it as a really shitty backup. But it's actually really bad because, like, I've never seen a search worse than Discord. And I used to be on the internet in the early 90s, guys. I remember my first time on the internet was like 93, and I was using like little spider bots, they called them, or web crawlers. They were called search spiders. I used to use those in the library when I was a kid, like in 93. And I still think those searches were better than Discord search. It's probably not true, but they just feel like they are. Jeez. Yeah, but we'll keep working on stuff. Let's see, what do we got going on this week? Let's look real quick, because I'll just show you guys the stuff that's going on. Discord's free, so, well, they don't charge us, so I don't charge you guys any. There's Bash study groups on Saturdays at 10 a.m., but check it in your time, because they'll show it in your time. And then there's a late night study at 10 p.m., so there's Bash twice during the day if you want to go hang out. Colchis is very structured. Mine is less structured, but mine seems to have attracted some of like the more senior guys, so they can give you good insights. So I think that's kind of cool, right? That's kind of a fun thing. I do maintenance on Saturday nights around here, or Sunday nights. This one may be, it's dicey this weekend because this is the last day of my college class that I'm in, and I have to, I have a presentation to put together that I'm mostly done with. But this is the first, so it's the last of my classes before all my classes are just writing for my dissertation. So like this is my last, if you were like, hey Scott, how many like real college classes do you have? None. I don't have any left after this Sunday. It's all just like, hey, keep paying us while you work on your dissertation, because that's how colleges run, right? Hey, are you still teaching yourself stuff and doing your dissertation? Yeah, good. Okay, keep paying us. That's kind of how colleges work when you get to the end bosses. We got a professional pen tester coming on August 30th. I've known him for 17 years in the industry, and go if you want to get into pen testing and red teaming. That's all he does, right? And his company's always hiring people. I see them all the time online looking for people, and it's not because they're turning over. It's because they have kind of high requirements. You have to have an OSCP to work for them. But if you say, hey, what does that take to get an OSCP, he can tell you, right? So it's good. And then we're going to start the security engineering course round 2 on September 20th. So that gives you a month to get ready for that if you want to. Those don't cost anything, and the books are all online. So the books are free online. The lab stuff is free online. The only excuse you have not to do it is you don't have the time for it. And I can't give you time, so I can't help you with that stuff. So, all right, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm gonna drop off of here. I don't think, yeah, we got 30 people. We'll go raid somebody on Twitch side.